Joe Biden and his administration reportedly spent $32,000 to fund a transgender comic book as propaganda in Peru. That's right. Our taxpayer dollars, if you live in the United States, was going to fund transgender propaganda in Peru. I wrote this up over at phantompulse.com. You can find the link in the description below. Congressman Brian Mast of Florida recently brought the expense to public attention during an interview with Margaret Brennan on CBS's Face the Nation. We can listen to what he has to say right here.
Was purging of people throughout the State Department, other agencies, where we're freezing aid. These are all very important and necessary steps to make sure that we secure America, and we're going to support that.
I'm sorry, can I follow up on what you just said there? You want to authorize purging of State Department personnel? What does that mean exactly?
Well,
this is an absolutely hilarious question. What does it mean to purge State Department officials? It means to fire them, lay them off, get them out, because they are clearly corrupt. That's what that means.
If you want to take a look at the State Department, where DEI has been a priority over, let's say, diplomacy in many accounts, I could give you hundreds of examples of where they were authorizing.
What proof do you have of that?
Sure, let's list them off. $500,000 to expand atheism in Nepal, $50,000 to do, let's see, a transgender opera in Colombia, $47,000 to do an LGBTQ trans comic book in Peru, $20,000 a pop to do drag shows in Ecuador. Shall I continue with more examples of where DEI was the priority? It
certainly seems like they're...
So there you go. He brought that to public attention. President Donald Trump's press secretary, Carolyn Levitt, would also address it yesterday during a conference. Let's listen to what she had to say.
Why Elon Musk and others have been taking a look. Because if you look at the waste and abuse that has run through USAID over the past several years, these are some of the insane priorities that organization has been spending money on. $1.5 million to advance DEI in Serbia's workplaces, $70,000 for a production of a DEI musical in Ireland, $47,000 for a transgender opera in Colombia, $32,000 for a transgender comic book in Peru. I don't know about you, but as an American taxpayer, I don't want my dollars going towards this crap, and I know the American people don't either, and that's exactly what Elon Musk has been tasked by President Trump to do, to get...
Amen. We do not want our taxpayer dollars going to this. And I think this just shows how deep the rot is. And it also kind of proves my theory that I've been talking about for the last number of years, that a lot of this is coming at the behest of the government and the Joe Biden administration. All of this promotion of DEI, it was coming from Obama, it was coming from Joe Biden, and they were using the hand of the government to enact this stuff. And I think we now have lots of evidence that proves this. So if you actually go over to usaspending.gov, which is described as the official open data source of federal spending information, including information about federal awards such as contracts, grants, and loans, the United States Department of State spent $32,000 to cover expenses to produce a tailor-made comic featuring LGBTQ plus hero to address social and mental health issues. So we can click that, go over here. You can see, here it is right here, Department of State, Recipient Commission Intercambio Education Entre Peru, EAU Juan Romero Hidalgo. What is it? Right here, to cover expenses to produce a tailor-made comic featuring an LGBTQ plus hero to address social and mental health issues to the tune of $32,000. $32,000. And apparently it has been completed. It was completed December 31, 2023. So there is a transgender propaganda comic floating around somewhere in Peru, paid for by our taxpayer dollars. And they say that the objective of this was to support the achievement of U.S. foreign policy goals and objectives, advance national interests, and enhance national security by informing and influencing foreign publics, and by expanding and strengthening the relationship between the people and government of the United States and citizens of the rest of the world. By indoctrinating them with LGBTQ plus propaganda? I don't think that strengthens the relationship between people. I think that breaks those relationships down. Because as I've talked about numerous times, the LGBTQ plus agenda does not lead anyone upwards. It does not lead to anything good. It always leads to evil and destruction. That's what it does. That's what our government under Joe Biden was doing. Promoting this propaganda in foreign countries, giving our taxpayer dollars away to LGBTQ plus propagandists in Peru and elsewhere. Serbia, she said. Colombia. It's ridiculous. So interestingly enough, the United States was directly interfering in Peru's address of so-called transgender issues. Pro-LGBTQ plus Congressman Robert Garcia of California reported in May 2024, so just, 5 months after this comic book, that Peru had designated transsexualism, gender identity disorders, and cross-dressing as mental health conditions, as they should be. A press release from Garcia's office said U.S. Rep. Robert Garcia said that he would be working directly with the State Department to push back on this direct attack on LGBTQ plus Peruvians because the measure moves Peru backward. Why is a congressman from California, why is he using the State Department to interfere in what's happening in Peru? This is what he said. As a gay Peruvian American and the first Peruvian American to serve in Congress, it's clear to me the decision by the Boluarte administration and the right-wing Congress to attack and label trans and intersex Peruvians as mentally ill is discriminatory, dangerous, and shameful. Is this guy even American? I mean, he calls himself American. Why is he so involved in what's happening in Peru? Especially when they're doing something that is right. Trying to help these people with their mental health conditions that they are clearly suffering from. So that was in May. June, month later, Human Rights Watch reported the government of Peru walked back these designations. So what did the State Department do? What did this guy Garcia do? Is that his name, Garcia? Yeah, what did this guy do? This is what that activist organization said. Peru's Ministry of Health has clarified that trans identities are not mental health conditions, walking back a heavily criticized presidential decree in May that portrayed trans identities as diagnosable in the Essential Health Insurance Plan over there in Peru. I mean, 1 month later, after this guy's making this statement saying he's going to get the State Department involved, the State Department's already funded a comic book. What's going on? How much more money was spent on promoting transgenderism in Peru? And given the fact that they're funding transgenderism propaganda in Peru, makes me wonder, how involved has the government been in influencing pro-LGBTQ plus messaging at Marvel Comics and DC Comics over the last few decades? We know Star Wars introduced these so-called trans characters back in 2021. Who was in charge then? Joe Biden. Marvel introduced a LGBTQ plus so-called Captain America. I think this was under Joe Biden's administration. And then we had gay Superman too. That was under Joe Biden too, right? So was all of this being funded by the government? Is that how DC and Marvel was staying afloat? Because the government was funding them? Because we know the sales on all of this stuff is just absolutely in the toilet. They've tried to hide those sales, but we know they're absolutely terrible. Makes one wonder. But we've got a new administration in charge. They're not putting up with this stuff. They are cutting the cord here. They're cutting the funding, and it's good to see. Hope they continue to dig in, find more, and chop it away. Because we do not want this. Our money should not be going to support so-called transgenderism, should not be supporting LGBTQ plus propaganda. The United States should not be exporting the disordered LGBTQ plus lifestyle. Absolutely not. But let me know what you guys make of this. Let me know in the comments below. Remember to always be charitable, especially to each other, and to always, always speak the truth.